10 brutal facts about traveling the Old West in a covered wagon. Imagine traveling thousands of miles through rough, dangerous land. Every day, you struggle with hunger, sickness, and the threat of attacks. There are no smooth roads, no maps, and no easy way to find your way. Just a heavy wagon pulled by tired oxen moving slowly across the harsh landscape. Life in the Old West wasn't just tough, it was a fight for survival. If you traveled by covered wagon, you were in for hardships that most people today can't even imagine. But just how bad was it? Stick around because you're about to find out the 10 brutal facts about traveling the Old West in a covered wagon. That'll make your worst road trip feel like a 5-star vacation. Welcome back, where we dive deep into the most insane, untold stories of history. If you love history, adventure, and the raw truth about life in the past, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe to join our history-obsessed community, and turn on those notifications so you never miss an upload. Trust me, after hearing what these pioneers went through, you'll never complain about traffic again. All right, let's hop in the saddle and ride back in time. All right, let's jump into it, folks. And fair warning, what you're about to hear might make you grateful for modern transportation forever. Fact number 1, the journey took 6 months, if you were lucky. Forget weekend road trips. Crossing the West in a covered wagon could take 6 months or more. That's half a year crawling along at about 15 miles a day on a good day. But let's be real, good days were rare. Imagine this. You've been on the trail for 3 months. Your back aches from sleeping on the hard ground. Your feet are covered in blisters. Then, boom, a storm hits. The trail turns into deep mud, swallowing wagon wheels whole. Now you're stuck for days watching your food run low, just hoping the weather clears. And if you left too late in the year, bad news. Just ask the Donner Party. In 1846, they took a shortcut, got trapped in the Sierra Nevada, and ran out of food. Things got so desperate, they turned to cannibalism. So yeah, 6 months was if you were lucky. For many, the journey took even longer, and some never made it at all. Fact number 2, you walked. A lot. Hollywood lied to you. Pioneers did not ride in their wagons like the 19th century RVs. The truth? They walked every single day for thousands of miles. Those cozy wagon scenes? Pure fiction. The wagons were stuffed with supplies, food, tools, furniture, leaving no space for passengers. So pioneers walked about 2,000 miles, the same as walking from New York to Miami. And their boots, many wore out along the way. When that happened, they kept walking, barefoot, over burning hot soil, sharp rocks, and steep mountain trails. Even kids as young as 6 walked all day, every day. By the time they reached their destination, many had feet so tough they barely looked human. Only the sick, elderly, or infants got to ride. But even then, it wasn't comfortable. With no shocks, every bump sent people flying. Some sick travelers said they'd rather walk in pain than be thrown around like a bean in a tin can during an earthquake. Fact number 3, deadly diseases were everywhere. Long before COVID-19, pioneers battled deadly diseases with no vaccines, no antibiotics, and no real understanding of what made them sick. The trail was a non-stop health disaster. Cholera was the worst. This brutal infection caused extreme vomiting and diarrhea, killing even the healthiest people in a single day. Imagine eating breakfast with a loved one and then burying them before sunset. It wasn't rare. It happened all the time. Dysentery, typhoid, smallpox, measles. Disease spreads fast. Hundreds of wagons used the same trails and drank from the same water, often contaminated by waste from camps upstream. With no sanitation, sickness ran wild. Medical help? Almost none. The best you could hope for was a fellow traveler with folk remedies or a swig of whiskey to ease the pain. Graves lined the trail. 1 in 10 pioneers didn't survive. That's up to 30,000 deaths on the Oregon Trail alone. The hardest part? There was no time to grieve. Even after burying a loved one, the wagon train had to keep moving. Stopping too long meant risking even more lives. Fact number 4, river crossings could be fatal. Before bridges stretched across the continent, every river was a life or death challenge. A calm stream could turn into a deadly flood in an instant after an upstream storm. Pioneers had few choices, and none were safe. Some paid Native Americans to guide them through shallow crossings. Others took days to take their wagons apart and float the pieces across. The boldest or most desperate simply drove in, praying the current wouldn't sweep them away. The dangers were real. Drowning was the second leading cause of death on the Oregon Trail, right after disease. Entire families could vanish in minutes when wagons overturned. One pioneer wrote about a tragic crossing where the screams of drowning children mixed with the panic of bellowing oxen as the river swallowed 7 lives. Even if you survived, you might lose everything. Supplies, food, and tools were often washed away downstream. Some routes required crossing the Platte River 9 times, leading frustrated pioneers to say it was too thick to drink, too thin to plow, and too deep to walk across. Fact number 5. Wagon wheel breakdowns were constant. The covered wagon, a symbol moving west, was actually a rolling disaster. Made of wood with iron parts, these wagons were pushed way past their limits. Wheels broke on hidden rocks, axles snapped on steep trails, wagon covers ripped in the wind or got so heavy with rain they nearly caved in. And fixing them? That was a struggle. With no stores around, pioneers had to use whatever they could find on the open plains. A broken wheel meant cutting down a tree, rushing to shape the wood, a job that usually took months, and hoping it wouldn't bend or crack in days. Many had to become last-minute wagon fixers just to keep moving. If repairs didn't work, pioneers had tough choices. Some left behind treasured family items to make the wagon lighter. Others stuffed what they could into a neighbor's wagon. Some had to walk the rest of the way, watching their dream of a new home slip away. The sounds of the trail weren't just creaky wheels. They were banging of hammers, the snapping of wood, and plenty of angry shouts from pioneers watching their wagons fall apart after 1,500 miles. Fact number 6. Native American encounters. Complex and misunderstood. Hollywood makes it seem like pioneers were always under attack, but the truth was more complicated. While fights did happen, many Native American tribes actually helped travelers, acting as guides, trading partners, and even rescuers when things went wrong. The Shoshone, Pawnee, and others helped pioneers find water, safe river crossings, and good hunting spots. Some tribes even set up trading posts where settlers could swap goods for fresh meat, warm moccasins, stronger than their worn-out old boots, and useful advice. But as more settlers arrived, things changed. Wagon trains took over hunting land and brought deadly diseases, which hurt native communities. Many tribes saw this as a threat, and they weren't wrong. When attacks did happen, they were fast and deadly, though not as common as people think. Still, the fear was always there. Every strange noise at night or dust cloud in the distance could send a wagon train into a panic, fueled by wild stories of past attacks. What's often left out is that some conflicts started because pioneers ignored warnings, wasted animals by hunting for fun, polluted water, or disrespected tribal land. In many cases, settlers played a role in the trouble they feared so much. Fact number 7. Food was scarce, monotonous, and often disgusting. Forget tasty meals. Pioneer food was all about lasting long and taking up little space. Flavor? That was the least of their worries. The main food was hardtack, a rock-hard cracker made of flour, water, and sometimes salt. It could last for months without spoiling, which was its only good quality. Pioneers often had to soak it in coffee just to avoid breaking their teeth, and if stored too long, bugs moved in. Many simply ate around the insects or ate them, since food was too precious to waste. Other common foods include salted pork, beans, rice, and coffee. Fresh fruits and vegetables were rare, which led to scurvy, a disease that caused bleeding gums, loose teeth, and exhaustion. Not great when you had to walk 15 miles a day. Hunting helped when possible, but when thousands of travelers using the same trails, animals quickly disappeared. By mid-season, some areas had no game left at all. Cooking was another struggle. After a long, tiring day, pioneers had to cook over open fires in harsh weather. Meals often ended up half raw or burnt to a crisp. But the worst part? Watching their food supplies run out faster than expected. As winter loomed and rations grew scarce, the fear of starvation was always there. Fact number 8. The weather could kill you in spectacular ways. Pioneers faced brutal weather with almost no protection, just a wagon cover and the clothes they brought. Summer on the Great Plains were scorching, often over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Wagons felt like ovens, and the sun caused nasty burns, heat stroke, and dehydration. If someone lost their hat to the wind, their face could blister so badly it left scars for life. Then came the storms. Heavy rain could flood the land in minutes. Lightning was deadly. Wagon covers couldn't keep out the soaking rain. Thunderstorms also brought a giant hail, big enough to hurt people, scare animals, and rip wagon covers apart. One pioneer wrote about a hail so bad it killed 2 oxen and left everyone bruised and bleeding. Winters were just as harsh. Temperatures dropped to 20 below zero Fahrenheit or worse, freezing water and causing frostbite. Snowdrifts could bury wagons overnight, leaving pioneers stuck for hours digging out. The worst danger? Tornadoes. With no warning, they could flip wagons, scatter supplies, and destroy camps in seconds. There was nowhere to hide, just luck and prayers. Fact number 9. Accidents were a daily threat. Before safety rules existed, traveling west was full of dangers. Loading heavy wagons could crush arms and legs. Kids sometimes fell under the wheels or got kicked by scared oxen. Guns went off by accident, causing serious injuries. Falling from a wagon could lead to a head injury or worse. Burns were common, from cooking over open fires and strong winds. Axes often missed their marks and hit fingers instead. Even small cuts could turn deadly without medicine to stop infections. Doctors were rare, and medical care was rough. Broken bones were set with whatever sticks pioneers could find. Wounds were cleaned with cheap whiskey. For pain, you bit down on a leather strap and tried not to scream. The worst part? There was no time to rest. A broken leg or a deep cut didn't stop the journey. Pioneers had to keep walking, working, and pushing forward, even when they were badly hurt. Falling behind often meant being left behind. Fact number 10. Reaching the destination was just the beginning. After 6 long, brutal months, pioneers finally arrived, only to realize their struggles were far from over. The perfect farmland they had dreamed of was often wild, harsh land that needed years of hard work. First, they had to build shelter, not cozy cabins, but rough huts or dirt homes dug into hillsides. These leaked, froze in winter, and barely kept them safe. Farming was a nightmare. Thick prairie grass had roots so tough they broke plows. Crops often failed due to bad weather, bugs, or poor soil. Many families barely had enough food to survive their first winter. Doctors were rare, sometimes over 100 miles away. Childbirth became even riskier, and many women died giving birth after already surviving the hard journey west. Loneliness was another struggle, especially for women who had left their family behind. They could go months without seeing another soul outside their family, leading to deep sadness and depression. The most heartbreaking part? Some families lost their strongest members, fathers, husbands, or sons, right after arriving. Injuries from the journey or sickness took many lives, leaving widows alone with children and land they had no idea how to manage. So there you have it, 10 brutal facts about traveling the Old West in a covered wagon that reveal just how insanely tough our ancestors truly were. These weren't just journeys. They were epic struggles for survival that tested every limit of human endurance. Next time you're stuck in traffic or complaining about Wi-Fi on a flight, remember the pioneers who spent half a year walking across a continent, burying loved ones along the way, all while pushing forward with nothing but hope and determination. Would you have had what it takes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this peek into pioneer life shocked you, don't stop here. There's so much more to discover. Smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into history's most extreme stories. Your support helps us continue bringing these untold stories to light. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next historical adventure. Until then, be thankful for smooth roads, modern medicine, and the fact that your dinner isn't a rock-hard biscuit filled with bugs.